Hello and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve and today we're taking a look at my team selection and transfer plans for game week 11. Now if you're new to the channel, I took a hit last week in order to bring in 3 attacking players of Saka, Watkins and Palmer, so using 2 free transfers to make 3 trades for 1 hit last week to cement my attacking 7 players in the squad, as I knew that my current back 3 starters were running into a bit of a tricky patch of fixtures from a defensive point of view. And I said in my video earlier this week that I had tagged Udogie and Burn as the one of the 2 most likely assets that I'll be selling this week, but I wasn't entirely sure which one would be making way. But having mulled over that decision, as well as hearing some updates from the managers, I have settled on where I'll be spending my 1 free transfer this week, and I will not be rolling. But before we get started, if you're not already a subscriber to this channel, consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out. And if you enjoy the following content, hit that like button. Right, so I'll quickly read out my team for those of you without the visuals. I currently have Johnston in net away to Burnley, Udogie at home to Chelsea, Matty Cash away to Nottingham Forest, just a good fixture. Dan Burn with really tough fixture at home to Arsenal this week. Across the midfield we've got Saka with a tricky game away to Newcastle. The Spurs lads of Son and Maddison at home to Chelsea, and Cole Palmer in the same fixture playing Tottenham away. I then have Salah with the Bus vice captaincy away to Luton. And up front we've got Ollie Watkins away to Nottingham Forest and Haaland with the Bus captaincy at home to Bournemouth. On the bench we've got Turner at home to Aston Villa, Baldock at home to Wolves, Kabore at home to Liverpool, and Woodrow also at home to Liverpool. So, who to sell? Udogie versus Dan Burn. So Postecoglou issued an update on Udogie yesterday, and his quote was, "Destiny is still working his way through it. We haven't ruled him out of the Chelsea game yet. Obviously, we've still got a few days up our sleeves. That's probably a 50-50 at this stage as to whether he'll be available. Everyone else is okay apart from the long-term ones, or long-term injuries." Now, remember that Udogie was actually pulled off in the Fulham match in game week 9 with tightness. He then missed the Palace fixture in game week 10, and we're now hearing that Udogie is a 50-50 shot at starting in game week 11. Something doesn't quite add up here. I mean, tightness doesn't generally keep a player out for 2 whole weeks, especially someone as young as 20 years old. Tightness you can usually recover from very quickly with either some sort of sports massage or some sort of acupuncture. Acupuncture is an amazing tool to fix the tightness in muscles around the place. But it shouldn't really be keeping Udogie out for this length of time. I don't know why he's still down at a 50-50 shot. So before this comment, Udogie was down at a 75% chance of playing, because Postecoglou actually said in his statement that there's a 50-50 shot that he will be playing. Then obviously FPL have updated his chance of playing to a 50%, which has put the orange flag on him. But either Postecoglou is downplaying how fit Udogie is so that Pochettino isn't too sure who's going to be playing at left back this weekend. This is a very big match for Spurs, and obviously Chelsea are a very tough opponent, so fair enough, he may not want to be giving anything away. But if we just take it at face value and we don't assume that Postecoglou is, telling little white lies here, I'm a little bit more concerned about Udogie's actual fitness here, and it's kind of making me think along the same lines as Sven Botman's knee injury, when kind of went backwards and forwards a little bit, and I said in the video was a few weeks ago now that I was actually a little bit more concerned with Botman's knee injury than what was being led on, and so I sold Botman almost instantly, and now we have seen that Botman has been out for a longer period of time. So again, I'm not trying to scaremonger here, and I mean, odds on I would have assumed if it's just tightness, Udogie would definitely be playing in this Chelsea fixture, and like I said, it could just be Postecoglou, putting Pochettino off the scent here. But this does add a certain amount of uncertainty to whether or not Udogie will be starting this week. And my bench isn't incredibly strong. The only player I'm certain is starting this week would be Kabore, but he's got Liverpool at home. Baldock did come back into the Sheffield United team last week, but he only got 19 minutes off the bench, and so I am completely uncertain as to whether or not he's back fit and ready to be in the starting 11. And to be honest, I don't really want to be playing a Sheffield United defender anyway, because their defence, their team has been ravaged by injury, and their defence has been incredibly leaky as a result. But Baldock was a first choice starting member, and so I'm sure he will probably come back into the team when he is fit and ready. But he has been out for quite a while, and so I can't really bank on him starting this week, even though he has got what looks to be a relatively good fixture on paper from a defensive point of view at home against Wolves, with Pedro Neto being out with, I don't think we've heard yet what the injury is, but having watched the fixture and seen him pull up, he is 100% pulled his hamstring. Looks like a bit of a severe pull, and so a pulled hamstring is going to be a minimum of 4 weeks out. Depending on the severity of the pull, it could be 6 to 8 weeks out. If you are holding on to Pedro Neto, I would advise getting rid, because he is going to be out for an extended period of time, and people will be selling him, so you will lose value in him. So the Wolves fixture from a defensive point of view does look a lot stronger for Sheffield United, but like I said, I can't really bank on Baldock starting in this fixture. So the uncertainty around Udogie has basically swayed the decision for me into selling Udogie, and I was kind of leaning that way even if he was deemed fit. So yes, Dan Burn does have a much tougher fixture this week against Arsenal, in which he will probably lose the clean sheet. But Spurs have what I believe to be a tougher set of defensive fixtures over the next 5 to 7 game weeks. And I see Newcastle as a better defensive team than Spurs in general. So if I just bring up my fixture ticker here. Now, for those of you with a keen eye, may pick up here that some of the colours of the opponents have changed. So I've actually gone in and updated the strength ratings for a few teams around the place. For instance, I have downgraded Manchester United's fixture difficulty rating from a red to a, beige, I suppose, is the colour there. Similarly, the same with Brighton. There's a couple of other changes around the place which will show a different ordering of the teams when ordered by the last 5 game weeks. So if you are looking at the video from earlier in the week, you will see a different set of teams at the top of this list here, but I have just updated it today to be a little bit more in line with what's going on with the teams at this point in time. So if we just take a look at the Spurs fixtures, they are currently 16th on my fixture ticker when sorted by the next 5 game weeks. So if what's happened there? Let's go 5. That might have not have actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, it hadn't quite updated. So they're actually down in 16th, 17th, 18th on the fixture ticker when ordered by the next 5 game weeks. So if you haven't seen this fixture ticker before, it's one that I've built myself. It's currently on my local machine. And it shows an extended view of the fixture run. So as you can see in the top right hand corner, I've got game weeks to view up here. So it's showing the next 10 game weeks, but in terms of ordering by fixture difficulty, it is currently only ordered by the next 5 game weeks, which is this sort by X game weeks. And the idea here is I am looking to buy a defender for about the next 5 to 6 game weeks. I don't really want to bring in defenders for, you know, a short run of fixtures like 2 to 3 unless I was looking to dead end my team into a wildcard or something. So I typically look around 5 to 6 when looking for defensive assets, but the extended view does give you a little bit of an idea of what those teams are running into past the next 5 game weeks. And so if we read off the Spurs fixtures, they've got Chelsea at home this week, which isn't a terrible game from a defensive point of view, as Chelsea have been struggling to score goals. And if you did watch a video earlier in the week, I did say I was very unimpressed with Nicholas Jackson being played in the number 9 in the game at the weekend. I bought Cole Palmer last week as he was playing false 9 the week previous and looked really good in that position. In game week 10, he was actually dropped into the cam role, or playing in the number 10, and Cole Palmer looked amazing in that role, but it did mean that Nicholas Jackson was playing up front. He was the man that Cole Palmer was trying to feed in, and of course Nicholas Jackson is very wasteful with the ball, and so Chelsea's attack as a whole suffers when Nicholas Jackson is on the pitch. Hopefully Pochettino saw that and saw enough to think maybe I should just put Cole Palmer back in that number 9 position and look to play someone else in that number 10. I think Enzo Fernandez was injured last week or unavailable for the match, and I think he is actually back fit and ready. I just probably should have checked this before I jumped on camera. Where is he? Fernandez. Enzo, yeah. So Enzo looks like he's got no flags. He did miss the match against Brentford. If he is back, we could see him in the cam position with Cole Palmer moving back into the number 9 position. And so if that does happen for a Spurs fixture, for Udogie, that is going to be a bit of a tougher fixture facing Chelsea. Following week, Wolves away, which is actually quite a decent defensive fixture for Udogie. As I mentioned, Pedro Neto is out, and he is their talisman, chief creator, the only one that seems to be really generating the attack in that Wolves team, and he will be up for a while. But then they have Aston Villa at home, who are attacking very well. Man City away, which is a horrific game. West Ham at home, which is going to be a bit of a tough game from a defensive standpoint, and then they have Newcastle followed up at home as well. And so I think that run of fixtures for Spurs from a defensive point of view is pretty bad, and I was already leaning towards selling Udogie. Compared that to the Newcastle fixtures, they have a super tough game this week at home to Arsenal, but then they're away to Bournemouth, home to Chelsea. Like I said, that Chelsea game could go either way depending on the personnel that Pochettino puts out on the pitch. Manchester United at home, who just are not able to score goals. In fact, they've only scored 11 goals in 10 games, so about a goal a game, and they have had some very kind fixtures in there. I think Newcastle will have no problems shutting them out. And then Everton away in game week 15, followed by Tottenham away in game week 16. So Newcastle are a better defensive team than Spurs overall, and the fixtures do kind of favour them. So I am going to be holding on to Dan Burn and selling Udogie this week. Now, in terms of replacements, if you did watch the video earlier in this week, I boiled it down to only 2 options. It was either going to be Tsimikas from Liverpool or a Palace defender to be coming in for Udogie. Tsimikas has about as close to a banker of a clean sheet as you could probably get this game week, as he does play Luton away, and I think Liverpool are going to smash Luton 3, 4, 5-0 this week. I don't think Luton will probably even register a shot on target. But then Tsimikas does have to play Brentford at home and Man City away in the following 2 fixtures. Now, Brentford at home will probably line up very similarly to what they did against Chelsea last week, which was playing, is it a 5-4-1 very low block system, and they are very effective at the low block. We have seen other teams try to play at low block and play it very poorly, but Brentford are incredibly organised at this low block, and they generate some pretty dangerous counter-attack, and so I could see Brentford actually scoring against Liverpool in game week 12, and then they have to play Man City away in game week 13. Now, if you are not familiar with my team and have not been following the channel for a while, I am running with an incredibly light bench this season, and so I know a lot of people out there have a very strong first bench member as a defensive asset that could rotate very well with Tsimikas in order to cover the 2 following fixtures in game weeks 12 and 13. And so if you are that kind of manager that does have a decent bench member for game weeks 12 and 13, Tsimikas is a really good option, as after game weeks 12 and 13 he plays Fulham at home, Sheffield United away, Crystal Palace away is the 10th of October, and then Manchester United at home the 10th of December, and then the 16th of December. And I think Robertson is due back sometime in December from memory. I'll just bring him up really quickly here. He is, 21st of January, so he's actually out for ages. So you'll be able to get game time out of Tsimikas, game weeks 11, possibly 12, 14, 15, 16, 17. You'll have a problem in game week 18 when he plays Arsenal, and game week 20 when he plays Newcastle, but he's also got that Burnley fixture in game week 19. So if you have some sort of rotation option here, Tsimikas could be is actually a really good buy, as he's super cheap, playing for a really good defensive unit. However, one thing to keep an eye on with Tsimikas is in that Everton fixture 2 game weeks ago, as I mentioned in earlier videos, Tsimikas was giving away an incredible amount of unnecessary fouls. It's a surprise to me that he didn't end up getting a yellow card in that game, and if he does continue to do that in the tougher fixtures, I don't think Luton are going to have anywhere near enough of the ball for Tsimikas to have a chance to actually foul the defender here, so he's actually no worry here. But in that Brentford and Man City match, you could see fouls popping up for Tsimikas. It might result in a yellow card or an early substitution for Klopp. Definitely if the yellow card occurs, he will probably get substituted. But just something to keep an eye on, again, in those slightly tougher fixtures. So again, if you do have a rotation option, this is nothing that you really need to worry about. But if I was to buy Tsimikas into my team, I would have to play him against Brentford and Man City in game weeks 12 and 13, and I could see him either losing the clean sheet or even being subbed early in these matches. And so I'm actually going to be swerving Tsimikas for this upcoming fixture run. So I'm going to be buying a Palace defender. Now I currently have 0.3 million in the bank, as you can see on screen here, and my sale price for Udogie is 4.8 million, and so I do have enough money to go and buy Anderson at Crystal Palace. However, I don't actually think the additional 0.4 million over someone like Mark Gahey is actually worth the investment when it comes to Anderson. So if we just bring up Crystal Palace and we bring up Anderson at 5 million. So Anderson has pulled in 3 bonus points on 3 occasions this season, and every other game he hasn't returned any bonus points. 2 of those game weeks he actually scored a goal and kept a clean sheet. So, well, actually, no, he didn't keep a clean sheet in this one, sorry. 2 of the games he scored a goal, one of those he actually kept a clean sheet, the other one he didn't keep a clean sheet. But that goal from a defender is obviously going to boost him up the bonus point system quite heavily. And it was actually only game week 1 where he actually pulled in some bonus points without generating an attacking return. And that was all the way back in game week 1 against Sheffield United. And obviously we know how poor Sheffield United has been as an opponent so far this season. And so the extra 0.4 million really only looks to be worth it if Anderson is going to continue to get, well, goals, because he's not really going to be an assist player. He's a centre-back that's going to be getting up for corners and free kicks, and it will only really be those situations where he will have an opportunity to score, and those are actually very low XG chances. They are very tricky to score points in. And so if we take a look at Mark Gahey, he has actually picked up bonus points in game weeks 6, 7 and 8, 2, 1 and 3 bonus points respectively. All 3 games they pulled in clean sheets. Some of the other weeks he has done alright on the bonus point system as well. You can see in game week 1 against Sheffield United he had 26 on the bonus point system, which is actually higher than the 24 in game week 7 against Manchester United, where he did register 1 bonus point. So 26 is still pretty high here. So when Crystal Palace do actually keep a clean sheet, it does look a little bit more likely that Gahey is going to be in the bonus points. And with the upcoming fixtures that Crystal Palace have, they are currently top of my ticker over the next 5 game weeks, with Burnley away, Everton at home, Luton away. Those are 3 really good fixtures from a defensive point of view. West Ham away will be a little bit trickier, but then Bournemouth at home in game week 15. I would hope to get 3 or 4 clean sheets over that run of fixtures, and if Gahey can get into the bonus points, I think he could probably match Anderson across that run of fixtures for 0.4 million less. And with that 0.4 million saving, well, meaning that I don't actually have to invest it, so I'll be going from Udogie at 4.8 million down to Gahey at 4.6 million, will give me 0.5 million in the bank. That will almost be enough money to take Dan Burn all the way up to Saliba at Arsenal, if I do wish to sell Dan Burn in the upcoming fixtures. But Medicash's nice run of defensive fixtures also runs out sometime soon, and so I could even look to go from Medicash up to maybe even a Ben White over the upcoming fixtures as part of this downgrade. So yeah, Anderson could score a goal, but I think the money saved here could be invested better into someone like an Arsenal defender, or potentially somewhere else in my squad moving forward. So my transfer in this week will be Udogie out to Mark Gahey coming in. And that just leaves the captaincy for game week 11. Now, I set the bus captaincy on Haaland at the end of game week 10, and I put the vice captaincy on Salah at Luton. The main reason I did that is both opponents, I think both games, Man City could score 3, 4, 5 goals. Liverpool could score 3, 4, 5 goals. So in terms of the amount of goals scored, I think both teams have about the same shot of, pulling in a lot of goals this weekend. Man City is at home though, which does slightly lean me towards Man City. And whenever Man City score, it pretty much always involves Haaland, whereas in Liverpool, when they score goals, it is sometimes split across the front three. So, Salah, what would it be this week? It'll probably be Salah, Nunez, and Diogo Jota across the front three. So any three of those could get quite heavily involved in the returns, whereas I'm almost certain that the returns are going to land at Haaland's feet in this Bournemouth fixture. And so that's the short and the sweet of the captaincy on that. There's not really been too much more thinking going into it. Both are great captains. If you have both, I would side towards the home fixture and the man that is most likely going to be involved in the majority of attacking returns. So that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video and got something out of it, press the like button and consider subscribing. And if not, that's all good too. I appreciate you watching. And until next time, cheers.